Ideals like peace, freedom, and justice, they get packed up, but we can all go home. Well, I'm not going home. I'm gonna get on my boat, and I'm going upriver, and I'm going to kick that son of a bitch bison's ass so hard that the next bison wannabe is gonna feel it. Now, who wants to go home? And who wants to go with me?
Welcome to the Rated G for Gamers podcast, episode 223. Before we start the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful fans who have supported us. And if you want to show support for Rated G, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/RatedG4Gamers. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support us and our journey to create more content for you. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rated G for Gamers. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate all the love. I'm your host, Dave Rotino, and this is my co-host, Dan, the podcaster formerly known as Classic Robinson.
What's going on, man?
I just have to say, it is now the middle of summer, which means the 4th of July holiday is in full swing. And what I mean by that is, I don't know how it is in your neighborhood, but in my neighborhood, fireworks go from like June to the end of July. Like they just go all summer long. It's crazy. And I know that we had the big Juneteenth celebration, so everyone was out kind of, vocalizing through fireworks and block parties and like whatever else. So, good to see people out there celebrating and in decent spirits. But it was loud this weekend. I just have to say that.
No, screw that. It was hot. It's hot. First of all,
I can deal with the heat.
We're in the beginning of the summer. And it's getting hot. Okay? It is really getting hot in here.
Yeah. It is actually, we are recording this on the longest day of the year. So it is a long, hot day today. But I'm okay. I don't know. I rarely use my air conditioner. I don't know if I've said it on the show before.
You are a cheap gamer. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, I have central air and high ceilings, which equates to a high electricity bill. So I do my best to not run the air conditioner when I can. I think I used it a total of 4 times last year, and I feel pretty good about that. But I
think 3 of those times I came over.
That's exactly right. You're like, we got to turn the air conditioner on.
You got to turn it. This one fan is not working, man. Mm-hmm. And you got to turn the AC on.
You're right. You're not wrong. And the fan makes a lot of noise. The air conditioner's pretty quiet. The one thing that I'm trying to resolve, and I don't think I'm ever going to be able to resolve it without spending a lot of money, is I like to keep the windows open, especially when I'm not home, just to get airflow and fresh air coming in. That doesn't necessarily jive with air conditioner, right? The air conditioner, right? Because you got to have the windows closed so it cools the place. That also doesn't jive with like the home automation setup, right? So if I get like a Nest thermostat thing where I can control it via the phone and like set it up to be cool when I get home, that means I have to use it all the time, and it also means I have to keep my windows shut. Otherwise, it just doesn't work, right? So I wish I was able to get some sort of like automatic windows that like close on their own. I could set that up. Then
what do you think? This is the Jetsons?
Come on, listen. I name my Roomba Rosie. So speaking of the Jetsons, yeah, man, we're pretty much there. I am proof positive. I am certain that somebody out there makes automated windows that can open and close.
Listen, Don't be in a rush for the future, because yes, I'm sure there's somebody out there that makes automatic windows, and there's somebody out there who hacks automatic windows to get in your house and steal all your games.
Oh my God. You could say the
I'm
same
just
thing
saying.
about your cell phone, right? You put out so much information, and somebody can hack into your phone. Someone can intercept your data.
That's why I don't. That's why I don't.
Through the air.
That's why I don't use automatic juicing charging stations.
Oh my
right?
God.
Because they said, listen, there's a whole thing on Eyewitness News about hackers using that to hack into your phone.
There's tons of ways to do it, though. Your phone and mine too included.
Well, I'm not gonna make it easy for. I'm not gonna make it easy for them.
there's definitely some things you could be doing that you're not doing.
Yeah, have a portable charger on you at all times. Boom. So, but I've been having a good weekend.
Yeah,
it was Juneteenth. I know a lot of people, a lot of coworkers, never even heard of it before. I had to explain the significance of it. I've always known that, and we sort of haven't really celebrated as far as like a barbecue or like a big celebration that I know of. But I've always sort of did a mini celebration. Like last year, right? Had dinner with a couple of people, and we did a toast to it.
Nice.
So
it's a state holiday now. Everyone who's a state employee in the state of New York gets off that day. We were recognizing that day, so that's like a great step forward.
Well, the funny thing is, it's recognized. It was been recognized in 42 states. It's just there's a lot of things in the books that are recognized but not enforced, right? Sort of. But it's good to see that they actually are pushing this through, making it a big deal.
Yeah.
So, I've had a good weekend dealing with sort of, social distance barbecue, family barbecue, seafood. We mostly did like a crab boil, right? Lobster boil.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It was a good weekend. I had a good weekend. Played lots of games.
Nice.
This whole week. But I got to talk about this, right? And this was like the last holdout. The last holdout of all of like the big gaming, like the big events this year, as far as video games go. PAX West, and I said it on the show like a month ago, 2 months ago. Yep. They're saying still playing a wait and see approach. I'm like, a wait and see approach. Like, no, like Tokyo Game Show canceled, and that's after yours.
Right.
Like, just cancel it. Right. Just cancel it. What are you waiting? There's no reason to wait and see. And finally, they've done it. They've canceled the in-person event, and they're doing PAX Online, totally free digital event, 9 days, which is a long time. Also, they've canceled PAX Australia this year as well.
Right. Which, makes sense. You want to play it safe. I like that it's online. I like that it's free. I'm definitely going to tune into a lot of the panels. Everything else is really not going to be anything exciting for me because you're not going to have hands-on games to play unless they're giving out game codes, right? Like Steam keys or whatever to play demos.
But that's the point of PAX. The point of PAX is like to go discover games. Like,
it is.
How's this going to work?
Yeah.
Is every game there going to be playable, like a playable demo for everyone, right? Well, at least you don't have hand sanitizer stations. You can just
right. Yeah.
I mean, I get the panels. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But PAX
there's probably going to be some
about
great panels.
PAX is three major things, in my view, at least. Panels, sort of get together for couch co-op with retro games, and hands-on with new games, like mostly indie, mid-tier to indie games. Every now and then, Sony will be there, Xbox will be there, Nintendo will be there with like one or two games, right? But mainly, you have to play it and discover, the hidden gems.
It's a big part of it, It's a big part of it.
So how will they do this, right? Will it be mostly Steam? Because a lot of stuff we play, playing it, I want to say like most of the stuff we play, or at least half, or more than half, is we're playing it on the computer, and they're saying that it'll be ported to Xbox One, PlayStation, or the Switch at a later date. Yeah. Right, so will it be mostly Steam keys that they're giving out for a demo, right? Early access. If anything,
I think it kind of has to be because I don't think Xbox and PlayStation really have the infrastructure to do that. I mean, you kind of can. Like they do have like redeemable keys for things. I haven't seen a redeemable key for a demo, which is what they would have to be. They'd have to be packaged up demos and like, here's a small sample of what it is. And, the devs would have to be okay with putting their game out there, right? Like, here's what it is. And if everybody gets to play it in that sense, like, you're going to get people talking about it. And it's like, well, it's not a finished product yet. You can't really, so yeah.
So
it's hard to,
that's interesting. So, I really want to see it. 9 days, man. Oh God.
Yeah.
I want to know if this is spread out as far as like we're gonna have demos of these games these 2 days, these 3 days, and panels for these days, and then these games, we're gonna take those down, and then you're gonna have, a bunch of for these next 3 or 4 days, you're gonna have these games that you could play, sort of like timed demos, right?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like Resident Evil 2, the remake, there was a time demo. You had 30 minutes, right? So maybe here it's like you have 72 hours to play.
Right. It's up and then it's down, and they just take it off.
Yeah,
I don't know. It'd be like real interesting to see like how they're going to do it. There's another interesting question though. We were kind of talking offline a little bit about this, like what's going to happen come next year, right? So the last convention is the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, I think, right? The last like big major one. And
no, well, I mean, that's the retro one.
Yeah.
PAX Australia was later in the year, right?
PAX
that
Australia,
was already
sure.
Yeah,
and
PAX Australia.
Done. So
that one's done. No, Paris Games Week.
Paris Games Week. Paris Games Week is October? Yeah, right.
That's
right,
October.
Right.
Yeah, okay, I think they canceled that. I think that was canceled too.
It was. Yeah, it was. So 2020 is done. 2021 is coming up, and we have PAX Unplugged as the first one. I think this year it was in January. Sometimes it's December. And then we have PAX East. All right. You kind of posed the interesting question, like, are they going to have PAX East next year?
PAX East 2021 is scheduled right now for March 25th through the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be interesting to see if we actually get to go. We've gone 5 years in a row since we started the show.
Yep.
It's going to be, I mean, look at the Oscars. The Oscars is usually in February. They have delayed it until April.
Yep.
Let's see if we get, this is the end of March, essentially, right? So let's see if we actually go. I'm going to say yes. And it's more wishful thinking than anything. We get to go under the premise of you always have your mask on and gloves or something along those lines. And they were always good, especially this year, about having hand sanitizer stations. Yeah. Maybe you have even more hand sanitizer stations everywhere.
Everything's just got hand sanitizer rubbed all over it. All the controllers, the screens, just one giant slip and slide.
Listen, all the controllers are, they're in plastic wrap.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like the little like toilet seat covers. You just pull it off and put a new one on.
Yeah. So maybe that's it. I hope so. And I'm going to be honest. Selfishly, I say that because I want to hit up the limited run booth.
Oh, yeah,
get the Hotline Miami game collection. That's going for $100 right now online.
Yeah.
Even though it's like $40.
I think it's a little too soon to tell. You kind of can't predict the future because it all depends on how the graphs go, right? They're charting it day by day, month by month, and then you kind of take a look at it every couple of days, weeks, months, and you see like, well, how is it trending? Is it trending up or trending down? If it's trending up, most likely they're going to be like, you know what, we're going to do it, maybe an online thing for PAX East too, which would suck, but you got to be safe in that case. If it's trending down and we possibly have a vaccine, then that's a completely different story. There's definitely a lot of variables involved.
Well, it all depends. I mean, you're right, but it depends on how Massachusetts wants to play it, right? Flying into Massachusetts, how are they going to handle that? How are they going to? Are they open? Are they sort of semi-open at this point? So we got to keep an eye on that. I know New York, if you're flying Florida to New York, looking to impose a 2-week quarantine on you, just like Florida did when we were, people were flying down to Florida from New York. When all this started, they were putting a 2-week quarantine on you.
Yep.
So let's see how it goes with Massachusetts. But on that same note, TwitchCon, that's usually in San Diego, that was also officially canceled due to COVID. Don't see them having sort of online thing. They haven't mentioned it. I haven't seen it, so
right, because like Twitch is already online. So what would you coordinate?
I guess that's mostly for get together panels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been to TwitchCon.
Yeah, same.
So,
same.
But enough with the conventions. Let's talk about Pokemon. Like something that we don't really talk about because we're both not big Pokemon fans.
That is very true.
But I gotta say, I was a little excited to hear about this. Nintendo, the Pokemon company announced they sort of had like a Pokemon Direct to talk about a bunch of stuff that didn't resonate with me, and I had no idea what most of that stuff they were talking about because I'm not really into the Pokemon lore. But they announced a new Pokemon Snap game for the Switch. I think this was a missed opportunity. The Wii U would have been a great platform for a new Pokemon Snap game, and I thought back then that we would have gotten a new Pokemon Snap game. That having the gamepad taking pictures of Pokemon would have been like a great thing. Totally missed opportunity.
Sure. I mean, you could do that with the the Switch. It's basically an enhanced version of the Wii U, right? It's got the motion control and all that. So I think all the kids, right? All the kids that grew up on N64 and played Pokemon Snap are going to be like, yeah. I don't think there's much of a game there. Because you're riding a little minecart, and then it's basically it's a trimmed down on rail shooter.
Look what you said. I mean, it's a on rail. It's still a shoot as duck kind of game, right? Like you missed a duck, the guy just laughs at you.
Yeah.
So if you're supposed to take a bunch of pictures, and if you miss a certain amount of Pokemon, I don't know. I played it once on the.
You don't die. You don't die. You still complete the stage.
You don't die in Duck Hunt, right? I mean, technically.
Well, you do though. You do because if you miss enough ducks, it's game over, right? So.
Well, it's game over. You don't die. Still, you don't die.
That's the thing. It's game over. You don't get to continue like Pokemon.
Well, it's just
whatever you get, and then you keep.
It's
going.
a safari. You're trying to take as many pictures as you good pictures as you can for your Pokédex.
What I'm trying to say is it's boring. Because we're not into the lore and all the other stuff and whatnot. We're not deep into Pokemon.
Well, they could have made it interesting on the Wii U, right? Like I'm surprised they didn't even think about this for the Wii. And maybe transition it to the Wii U, and they could have sort of, maybe gamified it a little bit, where it's like you have to take a certain amount of pictures of Pokemon, and if you take, they make it a little bit harder to take a picture of certain Pokemon, but if you can get those Pokemon, you get higher score.
That's exactly how it goes. Like how you position the picture and the groupings and the whatever else. Like it all plays into your score. Like at least that's how the original one was. So.
Well, there you go. See, it's gamified, so you can have a low score.
Yeah, I'm still not gonna play it. It doesn't matter. It's still a non-game in my eyes. But I also think it's a good move for Nintendo. Right? It's the right time. The nostalgia factor is high. Switch is a great console. It has all the functionality to use the pad like a camera. So. You still get that Wii U feel like you were talking about.
Yeah, but I want it on the Wii U. Come on, put out a Wii U version.
That's not going to happen anymore.
Put out a Wii U version. Come on, we can do it. Well, funny. You're gonna talk about the Wii U. One of those games that they made that was on the PlayStation 5. Sizzle, that was on the PlayStation 5 event. One of those games is actually, I forgot the name of the game, but one of those games is actually in development for the Wii U.
Oh, Jesus.
But they tweeted, they shifted gears and put it to next gen.
Right.
So they're just, it was totally crazy that it was supposed to be on a Wii U. That'd have been, but that would have been great. I mean, the game looked great. Little Devil Inside. That was actually originally supposed to be planned for the Wii U.
Right.
And then the Switch, but it ended up having a time exclusive for the PS5. So throw that in there.
Okay.
So, Dave, you get any good pickups lately?
Surprisingly, no. It is the time because we had Last of Us 2 had a bunch of delays, and that is the new game. That is the new hotness. That's the game to get if you're going to get it. I didn't get it. I passed on it. So no pickups from me. How about you?
Well, I did pick it up. I pre-ordered it months ago, and actually picked up Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. Now, originally, I had this slated I had it pre-ordered for the Switch because it was just a logo, and they said it was coming out for the Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. But then the box art, Amazon showed the actual box art of the game, and if you read the box art, right there on top, it says there is no cart in here, digital code only. And I immediately canceled my pre-order.
Oh no!
And then I pre-ordered it for the Xbox One. So I just got that in. So I have both of those.
Nice. Good deal.
So, Dave, as we always try to start the show but epically fail, what have you been playing?
Oh, I got some good news, Dan. You'll be very happy. Finally got into the amazing 2018 game Spider-Man.
It's about damn time.
Yeah, it's I don't have anything bad to say about the game.
You're playing the Game of the Year edition, right? With all the DLC.
I am playing the Game of the Year with all the DLC.
Okay.
I don't know where the DLC gets kind of peppered in, but so far so good. I've been doing all of the side missions, the challenges, the tokens, the backpacks. I'm trying to go 100% on it because it's really not that difficult, and I really like that about it. You can kind of just zip around, pick up a backpack, zip around, do a mission. And I'm playing on the hard mode, and I'm not getting stuck in the game. So I feel pretty good about it. Just the amount of moves you get, like right at the beginning of the game, I was like, is there going to be any unlockables? And there's like a whole skill tree of like additional moves and abilities you can get. I'm like, this is insane. Like they went all out. And like the costumes, like there's like 20 or 30 different costumes that you can dress Spider-Man up as, and they have different abilities. So I've been unlocking all that stuff. Yeah, it's good, man. It's good. And then I've been trying to beat Jedi Fallen Order in tandem because I kind of put that game down because I guess I wanted to beat Death Stranding before I got deep into Jedi Fallen Order, so now I'm back on that train. So, yeah, man.
Both good games,
right?
Jedi Fallen Order was an underrated game. I think people really slept on that game last year.
Underrated?
It will go down. Yes, underrated.
I don't know about that.
Underrated. I mean, it's my personal game of the year last year.
Yeah, it's
definitely a great game.
It's amazing. It's very good. It's still got some bugs. That's my only
the
criticism.
bugs are the charm. It's the character of the game. I think the bugs are fine.
Tell that to Fallout 76. All right.
The bugs didn't take me out of the experience.
Tell that to Fallout 76. Well, it's not helping the matter. Oh, it's cute. The bugs didn't take. It's cute that the main character falls through the floor or can't grab onto the rope to swing across.
Well, he doesn't need to grab on. He has the Force.
Well,
he has the Force. The Force can grab onto the rope.
It didn't happen. That definitely didn't happen.
So I've been playing, surprise, surprise, The Last of Us Part 2. Before that, I actually started up again The Last of Us, the first one, on the PS3.
Right.
I got halfway through the game, but then I knew I wasn't going to beat it in time, and I didn't really want to wait. So I already knew how the ending happened because it was already spoiled for me years ago. Because I watched sort of like a spoiler cast with Greg and Colin and all those guys when they were still at IGN. So I already know how it ends. So I decided just to watch sort of all the cutscenes put together as like a movie on YouTube and the DLC Left Behind. I watched all that. So I sort of got caught up in with the, okay, these are the story beats. And then sort of just popped in, and I'm 2 hours in, And I gotta say, so far, it's fantastic. So far.
Really? Oh, okay. Because I know a lot of people are very kind of divided on this game, right?
Well, this is one of those classic cases as the critics are giving it 9s and 10s. I think the lowest score I've seen so far is like a 7.
Mm-hmm.
And, people are review bombing it for one reason or another. I know people, are not happy with the ending. And just be careful out there. There are a lot of people putting out false endings, right? Talking about this and saying false things. I don't want to talk about what's real and what's not real because I don't want to spoil it for anybody else.
Yeah. I think that's,
well, that and I don't know. I don't really know because I haven't beaten the game yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I am so far 2 hours in, and I'm not even in the main sort of story beat of what the game is or what the game will be about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because by the commercials and everything, it's a revenge game, and I'm not even at the revenge part. I'm still just traversing the land. It gives me sort of Red Dead Redemption 2 vibes, right? Because it's snowing. There's a snowstorm, and you're on your horse.
Oh, it's just like the beginning of Red Dead. Yeah.
The right beginning of Red Dead. So
yeah,
it's giving me sort of vibes like that. I'm loving it. As soon as we're done recording, I'm gonna go back into it. So I think it's awesome.
All right.
And so I just started that, but I did beat Little Big Planet 1 for the PS3 last week. So
nice.
Definitely a good game. You want to talk about a game that has some bugs?
Yeah.
But the challenges where I thought were fair, and I can't wait to pop in the second one to see some of the things that they fixed. But I'm not going to get into that until maybe later in the summer.
Right.
I definitely want to beat Little Big Planet 1, 2, and 3 before Sackboy comes out. I don't want to wait too long.
I don't really think there's much of a story in these games. Tell me I'm wrong, but I think you'll be able to go into Sackboy without having previous knowledge.
I mean, Sackboy's
fine.
Sackboy is definitely different than Little Big Planet. It's like saying, "Hey, I don't want to play Super Mario Land 3D Land or World." Because you didn't beat Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3.
Right, exactly. It's all self-contained.
However, I feel like I want to get to know the Sackboy character a little bit better. I mean, I played Little Big Planet Kart Racing, or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So I did play that. It's an okay kart racer, not the best, but I would like to beat all 3 Little Big Planet games before I get into Sackboy.
Okay.
Don't want to wait too long. Like I did with The Last of Us. I knew The Last of Us 2 was coming out in June. I waited too long to play the first one, and then I ended up just watching cutscenes. So I kind of want to get caught up with the franchise in general. But before we go to break, I have a gamer grief.
Oh boy.
I think I've had more gamer griefs this year than I had total last year so far.
Hey, it's you gotta let your grief loose. You gotta put it out there in the air. All right.
I gotta vent my frustration.
Yeah, exactly.
And now my frustrations is with GameStop right now.
Oh, well, that's not surprising.
Okay. GameStop in New York, at least, they're open for curbside pickup. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking to buy something, you can buy it online and get it and just go to the store and pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're open from like 12 to 5 or something along those lines. They're definitely not open super early, and they're not open late. But my pro membership always ends in June, and I get the Game. I love gaming magazines. I still get the Game Informer magazine every month.
All right.
So I went online. I have like 80,000 points, 85,000 points, and it's like 15,000 points to renew your pro membership.
Mm-hmm.
I renewed my pro membership in May. Okay. It still doesn't reflect that my pro membership has been renewed. I usually do it in the store, but this time I did it online. Issue. It doesn't reflect. So I was like, I wasted 15,000 points. So I called GameStop, and I got I got a person, and the person told me, she's like, no, your membership has not been renewed. It is over this month. You must pay $20 or we can use 15,000 of your points. And I said, no, I already used 15,000 points. And she says, no, you didn't, because it's not in the system. I said, well, I have an order number. Thank God you email me when you use your points. So she looks it up and she says, oh, you did use 15,000 points. And I was like, no, duh.
Mm-hmm.
She said, she needs to get a manager to sort of change it in the system, and it should reflect within 4 to 5 business days.
Mm-hmm.
I need to check tomorrow. Tomorrow would make the fifth day, right? Okay. Well, tomorrow will make the 6th day.
All right.
So I'm going to give it some time before I call. Here's my issue. What do you mean you don't see it in the system? Why isn't it in the system that I used the 15,000 points? What if I deleted the email? Right? I would have been out of 15,000 points for no reason.
Yeah.
Their infrastructure, their online infrastructure it just sucks.
Well, Dan, their everything sucks. This is why they're in trouble. I don't think Reggie's going to save them as a company.
Come on, Reggie, if you're getting ready for the digital future, you need an online infrastructure that actually works.
Yeah, right?
Because at some point, there may not be a store, and you know how it is. I mean, we worked at Circuit City, and when Circuit City went under, someone bought Circuit City, the name, and kept the name alive online as an online store for like another 10 years before they changed it. Mm-hmm. So, if GameStop does go under, even Toys R Us is still around to a certain extent. So if GameStop does go under, someone's going to scoop it up, buy it at a bankruptcy, and then just post it online, and it'll be like an online store, like Lukey Games, right?
Right.
But if they're going to use the same online infrastructure, it's not going to work. It's going to suck, right? Because if that's the case, I need to know if the game has the case. If I'm buying a used game, I want to know if the game is complete or not before I buy it.
Right. And they don't tell you.
They don't tell you. What if I use my points to buy a digital game, but then I delete the email for some reason, or I don't get the email with the digital game, and they tell me, oh, well, your points were used, or you didn't use your points. What are you talking about? Why don't you see that in your system that I used the points? Why do I have to give you an order number?
Not to mention, if you order something online and you don't know whether it's got the box or not, then how do you know if it's a good price, right? Like buying a loose copy of Super Mario RPG versus in box with the manual and all the inserts and all that, it's going to be a wildly different price. So you're not going to be jumping in on this stuff. Yeah, man, it's not good. It's not good.
So just wanted to vent my frustrations.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this has been taken care of. I still enjoy getting my Game Informer magazines every month. And I look forward to getting my Game Informer magazine in July, because if I don't, I'm going to raise holy hell. That's all. So why don't we take a break? And we come back, we get into the top gaming news of last week.
This is Justin from the Lit Gaming Arena podcast, and you're listening to Rated G for Gamers.
And we're back. Let's get into the top gaming news of last week. Let's start with our lead story. We have to talk about EA Play Live 2020.
We do.
All right, that was it. That was good. It was good. Good talk.
EA Play 2020.
It was good talk. It was boring. It was boring. Let's call a spade a spade. It wasn't very good. Everything that they said could have been a blog post or a YouTube clip, like a trailer.
Yeah, I mean, especially coming off the heels of the great PlayStation 5 kind of reveal. Here's a bunch of awesome games that are coming out. Here's what the system looks like. Everyone's super hype on that. And then EA is like, yeah.
I mean, this was going to be their E3 showing, right? Like really? Seriously?
Yeah.
We got no next gen stuff. I mean, we got a sizzle reel.
Yeah.
Of next gen, but no official announcements. We didn't even get a Mass Effect trilogy port, like a remaster of like the trilogy on current gen, or for the Switch. Like we didn't get nothing. We didn't get anything. like
I
that
know.
next gen.
I know. And
We saw Madden.
We had
But
the
we knew
Madden,
about that already.
We had the FIFA on there, which was cool. I was excited about FIFA, but it's FIFA, so I'm gonna get it regardless. There's it looked real pretty, but it wasn't actual gameplay. It was kind of like a nice modified sizzle reel where they get the right angles and they put extra lights in there, and it's like, look how great it looks. And they also had Command & Conquer, like the remastered version, which I think a lot of people knew about already. I had my limited run pre-order for the longest. I already played the game because they gave us a Steam code when it came out, so that was already out. So I was like, all right.
But I don't want to go over everything that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't much of anything, to be honest. But I picked out a few highlights, right? So they gave everybody what they wanted. Apex is now going to be on the Switch in the fall and have full cross play. So if you're playing on PC, you can whoop somebody's butt that's playing on the Switch.
That's right. Right. That's not the best because we all know, the whole mouse and keyboard advantage. So it is what it is. I mean, they've done it with Fortnite, a couple other games. Rocket League, I think, has crossplay like that. So, I mean, it's not the best thing in the world. I wonder if they're going to have an ability to say, I only want to play with console players or only want to play with PC players. If you can get granular with it, that'd be great, right? Cause
that'd be awesome if you could just play with other Switch players, right?
Right. Because I mean, their play base is huge, so they're able to kind of split it up like that, and I think it'd be a good idea.
We had to hear from Mr. Ferris, the guy who famously went on the Game Awards and said, fuck the Oscars.
Fuck the Oscars, yeah. And there is our explicit warning. But it's true, Joseph Ferris, very outspoken creator of Brothers and A Way Out.
A Way Out.
A game
which
that,
we played and thought it's fantastic.
Yeah, it was great. It was a really fun game.
Well, here's another game, It Takes Two.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get really much into it. I mean, he really talked about blending, sort of his movie making and his game making sort of into one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about how hard it is to make a game compared to a movie. He's definitely it's another game that's going to be sort of like A Way Out, where it's two players and using feeling and emotions more so in the game, right? So we didn't really see much gameplay. This is probably, it's coming out in 2021, so hopefully later in the year we'll see more about this, right? I would say, hey, let's see it at the Game Awards, the Game Awards 2020, right? So it's coming out next year.
Yeah.
So we got another game, Rocket Arena, right? Another sort of arena style game, a 3v3 shooter. So not sort of my cup of tea, not my jam.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
It looked cool.
Yeah,
I'm sure people will like it. I want to know if it's going to be on the Switch. They did say they were bringing 7 games to the Switch.
Right.
So
I mean, it certainly should. It's not, pushing the boundary graphics wise, which is what all these arena shooters are. They have a nice, sleek art style to them, but they're not like, Cyberpunk or like Doom Eternal or whatever level of graphics, right? They kind of tone things down a little bit so you can play it on a low-powered PC or a Switch or a whatever and get, that smooth frame rate. So,
but the two highlights, the two biggest things that they announced was one, Star Wars Squadrons, right? That's coming out October 2nd.
Which was already leaked ahead of time.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, people are still going crazy over this.
Oh yeah,
it's coming out this year.
Super hype.
And we got a new skate game. Everyone asked for it, and they even said, the developers said, "Hey, we know you guys made this happen. You guys keep asking for it, so it's happening."
Yep.
I know everyone keeps saying Skate 4, but we don't really know what it's going to be called because it's in early development. So this is going to probably be a 2023 type game.
Right.
So, but that was EA Play. It wasn't anything big. We didn't get any huge announcements. I mean, I guess if you want to talk about Skate being in development, because I know everyone wants Skate 4.
Yeah,
Star Wars Squadrons,
huge.
That was good, but all of this could have been sort of like a press release. I don't think that, or if they could have, set expectations. If they made it out to be like their big E3 replacement showing, they could have just said, "Hey, we got a couple of trailers for you," and sort of set expectations low.
Yeah.
And I think that's why everyone thinks this was a disappointment, especially coming right after the PS5 event. So, well, we're talking about next gen. We didn't get any next gen real announcements from EA. But when we had the PS5 reveal event, we know we're getting a Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil 8. But that game is no longer going to be cross-gen. It has a total graphics overhaul, so it's not coming out for the PS4 and Xbox One. It will only be a PS5 and Xbox Series X game. We don't know when it's coming out. I would assume 2021, but you never know, right? This could be an early 2022 game. Because I think Resident Evil 3 came out in April.
Right.
Remake. Resident Evil 2 remake came out in early last year, and then Resident Evil 7 came out 2 years before that in January.
Yeah, they were all Christmas.
2017, sorry.
Christmas one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and they all did great. Some more than others. I think 7 and 2. The remake of 2 did better than the remake of 3 for, various reasons, but they've all done fairly well. And obviously they've had 8 in production for a while. The one thing that's curious to me is because, they're saying it's going to be like current gen at that time. So the PS5 and Xbox Series X only. Microsoft was saying is that in the beginning that it's going to be all Xbox cross-compatible, right? So any game you can play on the Series X, you'll be able to play on a 1X or a 1 or an S or a whatever, right? So I wonder how that's going to play out. I know Xbox can't sustain that forever, right? They can't have every Series X game be backwards compatible because eventually it's going to hinder it, right? You got to really unlock the next-gen visuals, so... This feels like it's going to be a 2022 release in that case because I think Microsoft really wants to push that. It's it's cool if you buy the game once and then you want to upgrade, you can just play the same game, right? You don't need to buy another copy of it, which I think is awesome. I don't know.
Yeah, this definitely has to be like down the line. I can't see. I mean, if it's not coming out for PS4 or Xbox One. But Xbox said they didn't want to leave anybody behind, right? I just don't know how that's going to work. Well,
yeah,
I guess we'll see. It has to be. It has to come out like some. It can't. This can't be a game that's coming out soon.
It's. I don't even think it's going to be next fall.
Really?
It'll probably be Christmas 2022, right? It'll probably be that February or March release, like they have been doing with their games and kind of doing it pretty well. And then that would kind of get you beyond the Xbox backwards compatible window that they're kind of talking about.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, you're right. That makes sense.
Well,
let's stay with current gen, right? Cyberpunk 2077 was supposed to come out in September. I mean, this game was delayed. It's been in production development since 2013, I believe, and it's been delayed at least 3 times. So it's now being further delayed into November. So, you know who's happy about this? Marvel's Avengers, because they were coming out like a week apart in September.
Right. Not to say that the Avengers is a bad game, but I think it's on a different scale than what Cyberpunk is going to be.
Listen, Cyberpunk, The Witcher, what else? Red Dead. Those are GTA. Any GTA game. Those are games that you don't want to be behind them or in front of them, right? Like right behind or right after. You want to give them. You want to be way out of the spectrum. You want to be a month or 2 out before that game comes out because you're going to just get buried, right?
Yeah.
And Cyberpunk is probably the best game or the most hyped game of this generation, if not this year.
Oh yeah.
So. You're going to want to be out. You don't want to be in that same realm as them. So remember, both Cyberpunk and the Avengers were both delayed until September of this year. So it was like, hey, we got to spread these out. Who was going to blink first? So it looks like Cyberpunk blinked. And look, they're not ready yet, right? They even said they're not ready. They need a little bit more time. And I'm not complaining at all because this gives me more time to play with the Avengers. And this is sort of going to come out in the middle of the PS5 and Xbox Series X launch. So, and they said that Cyberpunk 2077 will be backwards compatible. Well, forwards compatible, so you could play it on your PS5, you can play it on your Xbox Series X. They will be the PS4 and Xbox One versions, and then later on you'll have that patch to get a free upgrade to the Series X and PS5 standard.
Yeah, so that's exactly how you do it. You do that, and it'll be texture upgrades and whatever. You're going to take advantage of the new system architecture, so it's going to run a lot smoother. Maybe you get 60 versus 30 frames a second. All those kind of little things, and you can probably continue playing on your same save game, right? Put it up to the cloud. And then you can just kind of download the game on the new system, and then, boom, you're off and running. So that's great.
But you want to talk about being off and running. Dave, I'm excited. They're excited. And I know, most of all, you're excited. Because it looks like we're going to get a new Crash Bandicoot game. And I know you love the series. I know you're excited. We're going to make it a Crash Bandicoot 4. We've seen leaks. It looks like it's happening, and guess what? It's about time.
Oh my god!
Which is also the leaked name of Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time.
It's about time. I'm not excited, Dan. I'm sorry.
Yes, you are. You know how much you love Crash Bandicoot. It's one of your favorite series of all time. Crash Bandicoot is right up there with you for Final Fantasy, right? We know it. I know it. I know it. It's in your heart. You just you're denying it. I understand.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. Like the first couple games are just I'm not really about them. I know people love them, but I'm really
listen. If anybody here knows Dave loves Final Fantasy. He loves Crash Bandicoot, and he loves Fable. Those are his 3 favorite series of all time.
I mean, 1 of the 3 ain't bad. All right, 1 of the 3 ain't bad. Oh.
So. All the major outlets like IGN, GameSpot, Activision sent them a 200-piece puzzle that came together, and it was sort of like a symbol. No one knew what the symbol was about, but then there was leaked box art of Crash Bandicoot 4 for the PS4 and Xbox One, and some of that box art had the same symbol as those puzzle pieces. So everyone put 2 and 2 together that this is a thing that's going to happen. I mean, remember. The outlets got some egg sent to them as sort of like Easter egg for the Spyro trilogy, right? So I'm excited. I'm going to say 2 things. 1, PlayStation's probably going to have a year exclusivity on this. And 2, we got leaked box art for PS4 and Xbox One. Where's the Switch box art? Come on. This doesn't make any sense. Is it not coming to the Switch at the same time?
Well, that's what happened before, right? The Crash trilogy was exclusive on the PlayStation for nostalgia. Sony ended up wrapping that up for a year, and then it came on the Xbox, and then
same with Spyro. Same with Spyro, right?
Yeah. And then it eventually came on the Switch. So it's the same kind of deal. I guess they don't have the bandwidth to simultaneously develop for all 3 consoles at the same time. Who knows? But you're right. It fits with it fits with Nintendo's aesthetic, right? They're cute little fun character mascot games, platformers. You run around, super, teen at best, rated T for teen at best. It's probably an E for everyone game. You're right. Like they totally should put it on the system, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little sort of side note. If you go to any gaming store now and you want to buy Spyro the trilogy, right? Reignited trilogy, make sure it was made in I think 2019 or 2020 something. It had to be recent. A recent press disc, not an original disc. The original disc only had the first game and the 2 download. It had to download the other 2 games. Okay, so
right.
but the discs that are pressed now, recently, I think in late 2019 or at some point in 2019 and 2020, all 3 games will be on a disc.
Ah, I see. Does that go for all consoles or just the Switch version?
No, not the Switch version, just
Okay.
Xbox and PS4.
The Xbox and PS4. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good to know.
So I gotta buy that. I gotta go and buy that.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's switch gears. Let's talk about next gen. I'm excited for the PS5. I'm excited for the Series X. We know what the console is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like the PS5 is going to be larger. Well, it's going to be one of the largest consoles ever. That thing looks huge. It was a leaked photo.
Oh, yeah, size-wise, not just
Size-wise.
not just like in the zeitgeist, biggest console. Okay.
No. I'm talking about physically. It looks like it's going to be one of the biggest consoles.
Oh,
I know people make fun of it as far as looking at it, the design sort of looking like a router and the Xbox Series X looking like a refrigerator.
Yep.
But that shell is a photo. It looks like it's from a manufacturing photo. That shell looks huge. Don't know if that's going to fit in a lot of people's entertainment centers. You're going to have it on top.
Yeah, I mean, it can go on its side, which is good.
Yeah, but if it's so big, you're gonna have room. I mean, you need like something that doesn't have big shell, like yours. You don't really have like that big of space in between different shelves.
Oh no! I do.
You do? Okay.
I got enough to fit. Well, these are the shelves that I have are modular, so you can kind of move them up and down as you need,
Gotcha.
which is kind of nice. So I can flex it if it needs to, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll fit. I'm just gonna have to remove one of the older consoles because I have all the different sections are filled up with stuff. So,
so vertically, it looks like. I mean, it's like the tallest console ever. So it'll be the same way horizontally. So it's gonna be a big boy. This is gonna be a big boy.
Oof. Yeah, it's gonna dethrone the original Xbox.
For the biggest console, it could be. It really could be. Well, Sony has gone on the record and saying it is a little bit larger in size. That way, so it helps stay cool, the ventilation.
Right? Oh yeah, no. I 100% see why, and you can even look up like the fins when they come up. There's like literal exhaust that are in those like little bits that kind of fan out. So, well, pun intended, I guess. But yeah, man. I mean, it's got to stay cool. Like, the PS4 it wasn't like crazy big, but it was loud. All right. And those fans were like kicking in that thing. When you started using it for a little bit, it'd start whirring up. So if this makes it quiet, if this makes it cool, if this kind of presents overheating, like that's like the first thing. Aesthetics are second. All right. Function over form in this case, I think.
Well, it's going to be curious how much this is going to cost because there's a new rumor out there that the Xbox Series X and what they're calling the Series S edition, which would be the all digital edition, would be half the price of the Series X. And they're thinking that the Series X will be $400, where the Series S would be $200 to undercut Sony.
Oof. Yeah, I don't know about that.
That is the new rumor out there. And the box is going to be really small, the size of a GameCube.
Right. Yes, that's more of a possibility because there's no drive. You can kind of refactor the form factor a little bit. I don't know if you saw the purported leak of the prices, but they were saying like $500 and $400 for the disc and discless PS5 versions.
I know, so it'd be interesting if the Series S, the digital edition, would be half the price just to undercut Sony and make it $200.
Yeah,
that would be crazy.
Yeah, $400 for the disc full-on system. I hope so, but yeah, I don't know about that one.
So then think about it. We would have, if this is all true, we would have next-gen consoles at $200, $300, $400, and $500 dollar amounts. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
All right, we're reaching like PS2 prices here. We're reaching original PS1 prices, which was the same as the PS2. They were both $300, but You can get in on next gen gaming for so cheap, if that's the case.
So,
Ugh.
so we looked at the future. Let's take a look at our past.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about retro gaming, and let's talk about Billy Mitchell, and specifically Billy Mitchell. He had some of the highest arcade scores in like Donkey Kong and other games, and he, we talked about it in the show a couple of years ago, where Twin Galaxies sort of took, in the Guinness Book of World Records, took his scores down because it looked like he was playing on an emulator, right, instead of the actual arcade hardware.
Yeah, I mean, he was very much using a MAME system. So
it looks like the Guinness Book of World Records have sort of re-examined their records, the records. They've new key eyewitness testimonials have emerged, and they have reversed their decision and reinstated all of his original arcade scores. And so he is now back to the Guinness Book of World Records highest score in certain arcade games.
Right.
But not Twin Galaxies. Twin Galaxies still does not recognize him as the highest. They still don't recognize those scores at all.
Right.
As of right now, this recording.
Yeah. It's very interesting you mentioned Twin Galaxies, because they take a very hard line against putting up high scores that involve glitches or anything that you can kind of like boundary break the game with. Let alone using like a MAME emulator, right, to play the game. It's technically not an original hardware. That I can kind of get a little bit more, even though it still is a feat. There is very, very minor, like down to like, each individual frame. There's some very minor differences in the gameplay, which they're like, yeah, nope. But I really think Twin Galaxies is becoming less relevant, and a lot of people are kind of using other resources as kind of cataloging the like official best times and best scores, because Twin Galaxies is just like, nope. And everyone's like, yeah, no, you can totally boundary break. It's fine. Like it's people are pretty much in unison on that. Like they're all kind of saying that, like, look, it takes a lot of work to do this. You should allow it in the game. I honestly think, if you want my opinion about Twin Galaxies, they should have two sets of records. They should have one that's like straight up like just playing the game as is, and one that's using like glitches and boundary breaks, right? And then you kind of satisfy both camps. And it wouldn't be difficult to do, You just have two sets.
I can see both sides of the argument. If it's a glitch that's already in the game, it's a part of the game, and we're just taking advantage of what the game is offering us to beat it at a faster rate.
Yeah.
And I can understand them wanting to keep it pure. The glitch isn't on purpose. That's why it's called a glitch. It's accidental. We want to know how you could do without, just playing a game regular. And I think you hit the nail right on it. They should have just two systems, right? People who use glitches and people who don't.
Yeah, and you can look at whichever one as the definitive, like, this is the best record. All right, you can kind of make that decision because they're like broken down already. Yeah.
And you know what? Even if he used a MAME an emulator, it's still impressive that he can get that high score.
Yeah, like it's still a feat, man. Like, I think I talked about my cousin a little bit. He plays Donkey Kong, and like he'll do both. He'll do some MAME emulator stuff, and he's on the board. He's in like the top 200 best scorers, I think, with some MAME emulator ones, and he frequently like will do the arcade machines too, and he'll get on the high score list too. Like, he's like legit. Like he's like really good. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's end with talking a little PC, Steam, and Black Lives Matter. It looks like several indie developers have got together to remove their games from Steam, even though it's costing them, it's going to cost them money. They're removing their games from Steam in protest against Valve's lack of support or silence on the Black Lives movement. Steam historically hasn't made a stance one way or the other. And to make things worse, they do I shouldn't say it, because they don't promote anything. They allow Steam groups to come together that are clearly hateful in nature. If you look at some of the descriptions, they say a lot of hateful things and racist things, and they allow these groups to sort of stay, allow them to continue. But that's just their stance. That I guess they don't make any political stance or anything one way or the other. So, I mean, I don't know if this is going to, because they're small indie devs. This is not like a Ubisoft saying we're going to make a statement, or EA saying we're going to take our games. They're just EA is just now putting their games on Steam.
Right. Yeah. They're like, because they have their Origin service, so they wanted to try and do their own, and yeah.
So,
it's it's interesting. Like, it brings up a good point about companies not trying to get political, but there have been some, people, some friends, some conversations going on that you not making a political statement is in fact a political statement, right? Like you're not willing to say I'm with or I'm against, right? So it's like your silence says like volumes in that case. And developers are kind of looking at this and like, well, everybody else is kind of stepping up and saying stuff, and everybody else is taking active roles in, the Black Lives Matter movement and everything else that's going on, to say like, hey, look, this isn't great. We're gonna go ahead and take a stand for it, and here is what we're doing for that, right? Like, even Epic from day one has said they stand with Black Lives Matter, and they're against all discrimination. They've said it from day one. Right. So why not put out a statement saying this? And then why not, on top of that, because I know we kind of talked about off camera, is that there's a lot of because like Steam has groups, right? And there's a lot of hate groups on there, right? So they haven't taken a stance on hate groups. They haven't said like, hey, like, you guys are being disbanded because of XYZ, right? You violated term guidelines and this and that. They don't have to do that because it's a platform, right? And they don't monitor anything. They're just like, well, who people want to use our platform, they can use our platform. They're using it within term guidelines, right? They're not exploiting our platform. They have a group, good or bad, and they're letting them do what they do, right? They're taking a non-moderation, a non-policing stance on all this stuff. It's like, there it is, but go ahead.
To be fair, Valve has pledged to be a big sponsor of Game Devs of Color Expo, and as well as support Black voices in video games, well, in gaming. So they are involved in, sort of groups to help minorities in the gaming field. They just haven't put out an official statement.
Sure.
To the best of my knowledge, I haven't seen it.
Right. So the activism part of it, I think, is more important than like putting the message out there. Although I think both do good things, and they do kind of amplify each other. And it says like, we are in solidarity with this. You kind of get on the right side of history, right? And you're like, look, we're going to publicly say this because I feel like them getting into like working with all these groups is from all the pressure, right? It doesn't seem like they're necessarily the company to say like, hey, we need to do some community outreach. We need to go and like do the right thing here. I think everyone else was doing it, and then now some people were falling off, and they're like, all right, here's what we're going to do for the community, right? It's more of a reaction as opposed to being like proactive in this case. So great that they're doing it. They've like finally come around on it. So I guess that's the net positive from it. So yeah, I can say that about it, but.
Well, I mean, I'm sort of conflicted because they just don't say anything, right? It's not like a Jerry Jones, right? Where he just was
the owner of the
Dallas Cowboys. He was just vehemently against sitting for the anthem.
Right.
He's just like, no, this is not happening.
Right. Can't kneel, can't sit.
And now that everyone is in protest, right? And now that everyone has said, hey, it's not about the flag, it's not about this, it's about Black lives mattering as well.
Yeah. They've clarified their point and their statement.
He hasn't said anything, right? So they just, as a company don't say anything. I'm kind of conflicted on that, but then they allow hate groups and hate speech, right? Obviously, groups have their. It's just I don't know. It's like, yeah, you have the right to do that, but is it right? Right? Is it morally right?
Well, the thing where it becomes an issue, right? Because you can take well, we don't want this on our platform as like a silence of speech, a strike against the First Amendment, right? You have the right to free speech and free thought and whatever, and you're able to kind of do things and say things, and that's what America's all about, whether you like it or not, right? You could take something as non-controversial as Fable, right? Fable is a great game. Fable's not a great game. Oh, you can't have that discussion on our network. We're not going to let that happen, right? Because then you're silencing someone's opinion, whether it's right or wrong, whether you believe in it or not. But you take it to this extreme to where it's like a quantifiable hate group who like hates these people, may even be named a very obvious racial slur or whatever. This is our group, and you can look at the conversations, the text threads, and all that, and see like, yeah, these guys are no good. And when it gets to the incite to violence, right? When you're saying like, hey, look, let's get out there and let's firebomb and let's kind of loot and let's like graffiti up these things that we don't like, then it's bad news bears, right? Then it's all off. And when does it get to that point? Are people just talking, or are they really trying to mobilize and put all this stuff together? And like that is the ultimate, right? That's where it has to like end. But yeah, I
at least put out a statement. I mean, if you want to say, you know what, we're not going to moderate our groups, right? Yeah. It's just, if we moderate one, then we're going to moderate all of them, and we don't want to do that.
Right.
So they have the right to do or say whatever they want. Then still come out on the side of, we are with a certain people. We fight against injustice, right? Like say something. You can say something and not moderate the groups. So I think that's where I stand on that.
Yeah, it would go a long way. So yeah, not to get too deep in the weeds on this, because we definitely feel very passionate about it and we do have a lot to say about it, but I'm sure things like this are going to come up again. So, we'll certainly kind of be bringing those to light if they're involved in the gaming world. But I think on that note, we are going to end episode 223. That is in the books, and we want to give a big shout out and a big thanks to all the fans and everyone who's supporting us, everyone who's listening and liking and downloading and doing all the good stuff that you do. And if you want to interact with us, and we know you guys do, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and YouTube at Rated G for Gamers. Also, we are part of the Gaming Podcast Alliance, so check out all of the fine podcasts featured on there at gamingpodcastalliance.com if you're looking for more gaming goodness. So, please listen, like, rate, review, and subscribe. And as always,
keep gaming.